This is not a story about hate. It is a story about love that hurt. My name is Anna, and I am 32 years old now. When I look back at my life, I see a woman who believed deeply in love. I believed love was kind. I believed love was safe. I believed love could protect me from pain. I was wrong. Before I was married, I was simple in my heart. I did not ask for much from life. I did not dream of luxury or perfection. I only wanted to love someone and be loved back. I wanted a warm home, shared meals, quiet laughter, and a feeling of belonging. I believed that if two people truly loved each other, everything else would be okay. At that time, I thought love was enough. I was young, hopeful, and full of trust. I believed that marriage was a promise of safety, a place where two people protect each other from the world. I believed that once you chose love, you chose happiness. Then I met him. When I met my husband, he made me feel seen. Not loud, not dramatic, just seen. He listened when I spoke. He smiled when I laughed. He looked at me like I was important. With him, I felt chosen, and that feeling was powerful. We talked about simple dreams, a small home, a peaceful life, growing old together. He held my hand when we walked. He spoke gently. He made me feel calm. With him, the world felt quieter, safer. With him, I felt complete. When he asked me to marry him, I did not hesitate. In my heart, the answer was already there. Love felt clear. Love felt right. Some people around me were quiet instead of happy. My mother asked careful questions. A friend once said, "Marriage is more than love." But I did not listen. I chose love over logic. I chose feeling over fear. I believed love was stronger than problems. I believed that if something was wrong, love would fix it. I told myself that doubts were normal and fear was weak. So the first married him. In the beginning, marriage felt soft, gentle, safe. We shared meals at a small table. We watched television in silence, but it felt peaceful. We went to sleep side by side. I felt proud to be his wife. I felt secure wearing that title. Those days were warm. I remember cooking dinner and waiting for him to come home. I remember folding clothes while music played quietly. I remember thinking, this is what happiness looks like. Nothing biggie, nothing loud, just together. But slowly, something began to change. At first, it was small. He spoke less. He listened less. His answers became short. When I asked questions, he looked tired. When I shared my thoughts, he seemed distant. I told myself he was stressed. I told myself I was thinking too much. I blamed myself. I thought maybe I talked too much. Maybe I expected too much. Maybe I was too sensitive. I tried to be quieter, kinder, easier. I tried to become the wife I thought he needed. The warmth began to fade, but not suddenly. It faded slowly, like a light turning off little by little. He began to decide everything. Where we went, what we did, how we spent money. I followed. I told myself this was normal. A good wife supports her husband. A good wife does not complain. My opinions became smaller. My voice became softer. Sometimes I stayed silent, even when my heart was loud. I started to feel lonely. The strange thing was, I was not alone. He was there, sitting beside me, sleeping next to me. But I felt invisible. It is a special kind of loneliness too. Feel alone while someone is right beside you. I missed the man who used to listen. I missed the smiles. I missed the feeling of being important. But instead of asking for more, I asked myself to want less. Inside me, there was a quiet war. I asked myself questions late at night. Is this normal? Is marriage supposed to feel like this? I remembered the words I grew up with. A good wife stays. A strong woman endures. So I endured. I told myself, love means patience. Love means sacrifice. Love means silence. I told myself happiness was not the goal, commitment was. I believed leaving would mean failure. I believed staying meant strength. But each day, I felt myself disappearing a little more. I smiled less. I spoke less. I dreamed less. I did not hate him. That is important to say. I still loved him. Or maybe I loved who he used to be. Or maybe I loved the idea of what we were supposed to be. Love and pain began to live in the same place inside me. And I stayed. I stayed because I believed love was enough. I stayed because I believed marriage meant endurance, not happiness. I stayed because I did not yet know my own worth. I was married, but I felt invisible. And that was the beginning of the pain I did not yet understand. The breaking point did not come with shouting or tears. It came with silence. One evening, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The light was on, but the room felt dark. He was in the house, but not with me. I looked at my hands on the table and realized something painful. I felt empty. There was no fight, no loud words. Just a cold space between us that felt too big to cross. In that moment, I understood something I had been avoiding for a long time. I was disappearing. I was still a wife. I still cooked, cleaned, and smiled when needed. But inside, I was becoming smaller every day. My thoughts stayed in my head. My feelings stayed quiet. I felt like a shadow of the woman I used to be. That night, I did not cry. I just sat there listening to the silence. And inside that silence, a question slowly appeared. Is this the life I want forever? The question scared me. I did not answer it right away. I let it sit with me. I felt its weight in my chest. I thought about the future. More quiet nights, more loneliness, more of myself disappearing. I realized I had been living for marriage, not for life. Leaving did not feel brave. It felt terrifying. I was afraid of many things. I was afraid of being judged, afraid of being alone, afraid of failing, afraid of starting again at my age, afraid people would say I did not try hard enough. Staying felt familiar. Leaving felt like jumping into the dark. That is why leaving is often harder than staying. Pain, you know, feels safer than the unknown. But I also knew this truth. Staying was slowly destroying me. I asked myself another question, a quieter one. If I stay, what will happen to me? The answer was clear. I would disappear completely. The decision did not come with anger. It came with sadness and clarity. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw tired eyes. I saw a woman who had been quiet for too long, and I understood. I did not leave because I hated him. I left because I was losing myself. When I walked away from my marriage, my heart was heavy. Love does not disappear quickly. Even when something hurts, letting go is painful. I grieved not only the man, but the dream I once had. The days after were quiet. Too quiet. I sat alone in a small room that was now mine. The silence was different. It was not cold like before. It was empty. And emptiness is scary too. Some days I felt strong. Other days I cried without knowing why. Healing did not happen in a straight line. It moved slowly, forward and backward. I let myself feel sad. I stopped telling myself to be strong all the time. I learned that sadness is not weakness. It is part of healing. Little by little, I began to listen to my own voice again. I decided what to eat, when to sleep, where to go. Small things, but they mattered. For the first time in years, my choices were mine. I took walks alone. I sat with my thoughts. I remembered the woman I was before marriage. Not the innocent girl, but the strong woman I was becoming. The silence that once hurt me now helped me heal. I started to respect myself. I said no when something felt wrong. I said yes when something felt right. I learned that my feelings mattered. even if no one else approved. One of the hardest things I had to do was forgive. Not myself. I had to forgive myself for staying too long, for being silent, for believing pain was normal, for choosing endurance over happiness. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting. It meant letting go of shame. I understood that I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. And when I knew better, I chose better. That was enough. Through this journey, my idea of love changed. Love should not make you feel small. Love should not silence your voice. Love should not make you afraid to be yourself. Love should feel safe. Love should feel respectful. Love should feel like a choice, not a duty. Today, I am still healing. I am still learning. But I am no longer invisible. If you are listening to my story and you feel trapped, I want you to know this. Your feelings are real. Your voice matters. And choosing yourself is not selfish. Sometimes losing something is how we find ourselves. I lost a marriage, but I found myself, and that was worth everything.